And welcome to what absolutely promises, I mean it so deeply this time, to be an amazing episode of Dogma Debate, because I have Pam Hemphill here. And as you guys know, I think we're in dark times. And when the story of America is told, we're going to talk about the heroes, the people that stood up, the people that did the hard thing and went against the grain of their ilk, of their tribe. And Pam is one of those people, in my opinion. She was a Trump supporter. She stormed the Capitol on January 6th. She's had a change of heart. She's had a change of mind. She's seen the light from a progressive point of view. And she is now actually refusing Donald Trump's pardon. She doesn't want it. She wants no part of MAGA. And I am so honored to have her with us today. Pam, welcome to Dogma Debate.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, I'm curious about where did you start? I read that you voted for Obama. Is that accurate?
Yes, I
Eh,
didn't tell. I didn't tell my family though.
oh, okay. So you are steeped in red state culture, I would imagine.
Yes.
Very much so. So you did vote for Obama, but then you found yourself on the Trump train. How did that happen? What was it about Trump that just he appealed to you? It was just the zeitgeist. Everybody was doing it. Tell me about what got you on the Trump train.
Well, actually, no, I didn't. When Trump said "grab him by the pee,"
Yeah.
I talked to my sister-in-law and my brother about that. And it just disturbed me. And the same thing you always get from Mega is gaslighting. And oh, Pam, that's just men's locker room talking. That doesn't matter. He's going to save this nation because the Democrats want to turn it into a communist country. So they minimize and overlook any of his flaws.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what you bring to him.
And so what you were concerned, but eventually you ended up at the Capitol on January 6th. So clearly you became enthusiastic about MAGA at some point.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll just share with you briefly.
Okay.
I'm a retired alcohol and drug counselor. I've been in the field for 28 years.
Uh-huh.
And I was watching a video, Amy Goodman from Democracy Now!, and there was a protest, the Standing Rock protest in North Dakota going on at the time. And I've never been involved in politics at all. I've been doing nothing but trying to help alcoholics and addicts get clean and sober. I've been clean and sober myself 45 years now.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
that's all I was doing. I
Yeah.
don't read anything on politics, barely watched Fox News, but my family were a big supporter of Trump, of course, and they sent me books and gave me all the information. And I trusted them, I trusted their judgment. But that day when I was watching that protest, called my brother and I said, "Look, I got to get up there and help these Native Americans." He says, "Well, there's two sides to every story, Pam." But I went up there, and when I was there, the chiefs came to me and said, "Look at it, it's getting out of hand. You really probably should go back home." So I did, and I followed it, and I wrote a book about it. I followed it for a year. It was the largest and longest Native American protest in history against the
Wow.
pipeline, the No Dapple pipeline.
Yeah. No, I
And
remember
that,
it.
and that got me started in paying attention to politics. Because, of course, at that time, the left, they were the Democrats were communists. And
Right. But it seems to me that the majority of the people that would have been at the Standing Rock protest would have been more of a progressive or a leftist sort of crowd.
yeah, they
So,
were.
yeah. And I can just obviously from what you just told me, I mean, your heart is a progressive one. You saw the Native Americans fighting against, the corporate billionaire class trying to bring a pipeline through their land, and you ran to the correct side.
Yeah.
And you did it. Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing story.
But like most both protests, as you see today, they got hijacked too and
Yeah.
gave their protest a bad name. And just like the Black Lives Matter, they do that to all of our protests, make us look like we're violent. So, and
Yeah.
then from there, I saw an event going on here in Boise, Idaho, the Second Amendment. I went there, and that's where I met the Mega girls. They're taken their flag out in the corner and asked me if I would come join them and videotape for them.
Yeah.
That that got me started with that.
Yeah. And then you found yourself involved in, I guess, the MAGA movement, which I imagine in Boise, Idaho, is pretty easy and probably pretty fun. I mean, you instantly have a lot of friends and people that are like-minded, and I mean, the in group out group, you were in the in group, and that probably is a pretty nice thing, right?
Yeah, and you don't know it's mega back then. You gotta
Yeah.
understand that. There's no
Right.
mega. Uh, you don't you don't hear or recognize the racism and the propaganda. It kind of wasn't even spoken about that much back then. I didn't know anything about disinformation, but
Right.
I did learn. I was kind of the black sheep with them because I was questioning a lot of times. And they would say, "Oh, Pam, the fake news, just listen to Trump and we'll tell you what to read and who to listen to." It's,
Oh,
okay,
wow.
because these are people with 2 PhDs. This is the lieutenant governor. These are senators that I know here. Plus, see, saw a video. Are you familiar with Ammon Bundy?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. They
Okay,
took over the nature reserve. Their dad was I can't remember, Cliven Bundy,
yeah.
and they had a thing against the the original BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, and then that spun out of control. And then later Ammon Bundy and a bunch of dudes took over some nature preserve in, I believe, Oregon, right?
Huh,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But he has a video on Facebook, right? And I saw it. He said this is when the lockdowns started, when
Right.
Trump, right when the lockdowns. And I thought, oh, this would be interesting. I didn't know much about him, but he was talking about the Constitution and the overreach of the government. I thought, oh, this will be interesting. I'll just go there, and I have a video of my first visit. And I did. I went there, and he's charming. He's intelligent. I don't know anything about the Constitution. I'm not schooled in politics, and I'm listening to him. And people are mostly honest, aren't they? But he interprets the Constitution his way. Now, if you know the Constitution, you wouldn't have got full of like me. I'm one of those naive people, that just been working with addicts and alcoholics and not involved in politics. So I believed him, and I followed him for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, here in Boise, Idaho. I was with all his arrests. Well, how it ended, they went into St. Luke's Hospital without a mask at that time, and I have a video on it. I'm yelling at him. I said, "You're going to leave this hospital right now." And I'm screaming at him, and they're calling me, "Oh, you must be a Fed." I said, "I don't care what you want to think I am. You getting out of this hospital." So we had a fallout, and I left. And then after that, a big smear campaign went on. You know,
Really? Against you?
oh yeah, big time. Oh, they hate me here. They'd put my head on a platter if they could.
Oh my
I,
goodness.
I don't care.
I mean, honestly, Pam, I mean, you are a brave, brave soul. I mean, you are the kind of person, I mean, it's hard. I know how hard it is to stand up against the crowd, you know? I mean, you're in Boise, Idaho,
Yeah.
and you're refusing Donald Trump's pardon. I mean, if there's a better definition of brave, I don't know it. You are a brave soul, and honestly, I admire you so deeply.
Oh, well, thank you for that. But I don't like bullies. But I need to let you know, I don't know if you've heard, I have the paperwork and I can send you a copy from the DOJ. They are not going to give me my pardon.
Oh,
Senator James Rush, I don't say his name right. Rush. Uh, Staff helped me, and the DOJ sent the letter to them, and then I got a copy of it, that they will not put it on a record that I received a pardon. So I do not have that pardon. Yay!
wow. Amazing.
It's
Okay,
on
so
record.
so how did you end up at the Capitol on January 6th then?
Okay, fast forward. I had been diagnosed with breast cancer. I had surgery, and it was Christmas time. My brother called me and says, since you love going out there videotaping everything, this will probably be the last time that you can get out there and videotape, because I had chemotherapy scheduled in a few weeks,
Mhm.
January 16th or something. He said, how would you like it as a Christmas gift if we sent you there to the protest at the Capitol. I said, oh, I love that. I never seen Washington D.C. anyway. So that's how I ended up going. Um, but when I got there, it was 10:30 in the morning. I was exhausted. When you get older, it was about 10:30, and I couldn't get through that crowd. I knew it was too big, and I thought, oh, I missed Trump's speech. I was so upset. So I walked around asking people what else is going to be happening. They said, well, I heard he's going up to the Capitol. I said, why is he going to go up to myself? I said this. Why is he going to the Capitol? He's just had a talk. Then I thought, oh, maybe to talk to Congress or something. We can get in and listen. I'm naive. I don't even know the transfer of power was happening. That's how
Wow.
I wasn't paying attention to. I'm just having fun, as we
Yeah.
talked first, videotaping. So I started walking towards the Capitol when I found out, and that's when I was there in front of the Capitol, not the side I ended up on, um, where the real violence was happening. The Proud Boys were coming towards me, and I asked them, I said, are you the Proud Boys? And I said, I want to go in the Capitol. Are you going in the Capitol? I
Wow.
meant legally, of course.
Yeah.
My
You thought you were
thinking
going to
was
go watch Trump speak or something like that.
they're going to be guarding him and they'll be close to him. So maybe I could sneak in with them,
Yeah.
Everything's going to be legal, of course, right?
I mean, the
Oh,
idea that you asked these street thugs, Trump's private army, already seems a little disconnected from legal to me. But yeah, I
and I
hear you.
have no idea who the Proud Boys are. I saw
Yeah.
a little bit about them. I heard a few things.
Yeah.
They were the good guys in the Western days, that took care of the bad guys. That's all I knew. And they were standing up for this nation. But can't think of his Nordine, I think it was, said, no, ma'am, we're not going inside the Capitol. And they used that for his court, my video, because everything's on video that I'm sharing about January 6th, uh, to help his court case, but it didn't help much. But so I followed them for an hour. I didn't know what they were doing. They were standing on the other side. I don't know if it's the west or the east. I get confused. Uh, but I don't know what they're doing. They're just standing there talking. And I thought, I better get up front to the gate because if they're going to be with Trump, I want to be up front because I know they'll be up front. So I got up there and I'm waiting for him, but I don't see anybody coming. But this man, William Dunphy, was talking. He was arrested. He was talking to a Capitol Police officer, and I said, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "Well, we're negotiating." They weren't negotiating,
Yeah.
but in his mind, they're negotiating to get permission to go to the steps. And I thought, "Oh, okay, great. We could see Trump even closer." And then I'm thinking, I'm waiting for the Proud Boys, and they're not coming. I'm confused. Um, so when they did start pushing on the barriers, now imagine a concert or football game. You're going to be allowed in, but the crowd sometimes pushes faster. So my mind, that's what was happening. We're getting permission, but everybody's trying to go there too fast. So
Yeah.
an officer saw me. I think I was probably tripping. I'm kind of guessing on this. And he grabs me and he pulls me behind him. So I'm thinking he's helping me get in first. It sounds weird now, but this is the thinking at the time. So I go around, I said, come on in, it's your house. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I go a female officer and I said, why aren't they coming in? She says, ma'am, they're not letting them in. I said, they're not? Oh my God, my heart went to my feet. I thought, I'm in trouble. I was telling people to come in. She says, but you're going back to the same spot. And I said, oh my God, don't put me back there. Please don't put me back there. Well, they did. Within a half a minute, I don't know, real quickly, they did it again. And this time I knew I'm in trouble. Same officer pulls me over. It's like it felt like a buffalo was behind me. And I was scared and I had stitches. So I ran to the captain because I knew it's probably a captain because they had a different color hat.
Uh-huh.
And he said, I told him my situation. I'm really scared. He said, you go to the steps, get behind the officers, I'll call it in for you. Because I guess he didn't know where else to tell me to go because there was nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I got there and I got pushed towards an officer, but I was thinking real quick and I pushed myself back. I landed on the steps. They stepped on my head. They broke my glasses, pulled out my
Whoa.
shoulder blade, cut my knee. I was not breathing and kept
My
stepping on my
God.
head. The officers pulled me up, and if it wasn't for them, I'd be dead today because I wasn't breathing. I was like, Because
Wow.
they kept stepping all over me.
Yeah, I mean, just a mob surging forward, and people get trampled. We've heard about this. That is so terrible.
Yeah, that video's been out there on CNN all over the place. So
Yeah,
I have that. I don't know how I kept my camera on myself because it just happened to stay on me. So I have the video of it.
yeah. And the Capitol Police actually saved you.
Yeah, on the video you'll see they pulled me up, put me behind them.
Yeah,
And then I sat behind them for, I don't know, I can't tell you how long I thought. Even talking about this, you got to understand there'll be moments. It's trauma. I'm
yeah.
bringing back up the trauma,
I
but
understand.
I'm
Thank you
sitting
for
there,
sharing.
and then all of a sudden they start coming up, pushing the officers and coming up the steps more. And I go, oh no, here we go. And here's a lady, she's probably my age, with her daughter, just normal, like maybe look like a school teacher, you know what I mean? An average American woman, and they're all happy and cheering, and I'm thinking, what is going on here? You know, whoa! But they got to the top of the steps and started pepper spraying the officers and trying to get flagpoles to break the window and get in. And I went to the captain again upstairs after I finally got my breath. I said, "Where's the National Guard?" He says, "I can't get through to anybody right now." But he said, "You're going to have to stand over here." I said, "Well, how do I get out of here?" He said, "We can't right now." So I just stood there and fast forward. I started seeing people coming in and out. Now, I know now what was happening. The other side, which the media shows all the time, the very violent side, I'm not minimizing my side,
Right.
but you know the side I'm talking about where it
Yeah. Oh,
shows all
sure.
of it. Well, they were bringing them through the Capitol throughout the door that I was by. I know that now because when I look at the people coming out, they're high profile J6ers. But people were coming in and out. I saw two officers at the door, and I'm not, you don't know crowds. My brain wasn't thinking. So I get in front of it, thinking if they're letting them in, I'm going to videotape that the officer said it was okay for us to come in. But I didn't get that chance because, of course, if you're in a crowd like that, they shove everybody in, they push you
Yeah,
if they're behind. So I got shoved in. I went in, and on my video, you could hear me. I'm not minimizing that day, though, about me.
I understand.
I'm not showing you that I was a victim because that's not true. I had a choice. I'm just sharing the story.
I understand.
I said, I got shoved in, I sat down, and then when they were trying to get them back out, somebody had locked the door so they couldn't even get them out. So I ran behind the officers on the other side and sat down. And he said on the video his name was Joe. So the Capitol Police Officer Joe came to me and said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, I'm not. I already got stumbled on, pushed in here. Help me get out." So he did. But the prosecutor said I was using my medical as an excuse that day to take the officers away from their duty, but that's not true. That's the only thing I disagreed with. That was
Oh,
all. Because I wasn't. I was afraid if you had the stitches I had, you'd be scared too, and you would have been trampled on. But he got me out. And then I walked back to the Capitol to get my ground. Where am I? I don't know where I'm at. And I saw the Buffalo Man, Jacob Chansley. I had
oh,
to go up there and
wow.
video him, right? So
Yeah.
I go
The
up there.
just for the record, that is the J6 shaman, the
Yeah,
Maga shaman or whatever he's called. Yeah, the we all know who we're talking about with the
yeah.
horns and the
You have to
painted
watch.
face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to watch the video. He's insane.
Yeah.
Uh, so I videotaped him, and then he kind of, I don't know where he went, but then I saw him. He went to the door up front and was telling people to leave, and I thought I'm going to help him do that, get people out of here. And then Trump came on. They put the recording, and Trump asking us, "We love you."
Yeah, you're very special people.
Yeah, he said they were the narcissist love bombing.
Yeah.
So I stayed there. Chansley left, and I acted like I was a Marine with an AR, standing in front of that door, telling people to leave, telling the officers behind me, "Don't worry, they're not coming through again because I won't let them." I get,
Wow.
I get crazy. Oh, I was so sick of seeing what was going on. The officers being pepper spray. They'd stepped on me. They were crazy. It was insane. I just had it. And I think my age, you don't really think about it. If I was a big man, I'm sure they would have attacked me. I'm
Yeah.
kind of, it's kind of safe to be old sometimes in a woman. uh, but that was a little insane, to be honest with you. One guy did come to me on my video. You could see it, and tried to push me up against the door. He came to me backwards, tried to injure me, and he was drinking
Wow. Why would he want to injure you?
because
Just
I'm
because?
drunk. I wouldn't let them get to the door.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Even this is after Trump though said go home. So this guy,
Yeah,
he was a real troublemaker.
yeah. And when they saw that, I think that's why finally the officers came out and helped me get away from everybody. Took me downstairs. There's a picture of them taking me down the steps.
Wow. And you got out of there. And where'd you go? To your hotel or to the hospital or?
No, I know. No, I sat down, and I think that's when I started seeing National Guard. There was a curfew coming, and I'm lost. I'm just so disoriented. I know now because stepping on my head probably made me not okay. I'm not thinking straight. I don't
Yeah.
know where my uh, hotel is. I'm trying to figure out where am I, and I had to keep asking people. Finally, I had to call this lady to help me from Boise, Idaho, to tell me what street to go down and turn left. Or I asked the FBI; they were all out there. There's like 20. Everybody was giving me the wrong directions. I spent 3 hours trying to find out where I was, and I was a mile away.
Wow.
It was horrifying. It was horrifying.
Yeah. And so eventually you get back to your hotel though, I'm guessing. And
Yeah,
then I guess what was it like that night in the hotel? I get there. I'm guessing that all the hotels were full of J6ers, right?
yeah. In fact, some that I knew, the Mega girls were there.
Yeah.
Um, I'd heard they were bringing pepper spray. So I didn't want to associate with anybody bringing any kind of weapon. I don't care. What is
Right.
that for? Give me a
Yeah.
break. But I sat down in the lobby because they said, "Come here, Pam. You got to hear what happened." And they were telling me about the other side, and I was like, "Oh, just think I could have been on that side. I would have been killed because I would have been trying to protect the officers." I couldn't believe what I was hearing because my side was bad, but
Yeah.
nothing like the other side.
Wow.
And they're all
And
laughing about it and cheering at it,
yeah, they considered it a successful day. I've seen a lot of footage of
Yeah,
that night in the hotels, people cheersing and drinking and thinking that they had done a good thing. I mean, they still think they did a good thing.
I know.
I guess at some point you just kind of get back to Idaho then after that, right?
Well, I got to be careful of the word, not friends, but I had made contact with the Idaho Capitol Police, the
I
ones
see.
that guarded the governor. So I called him, Michael and Jeff, because I said, I don't know what's going on. Am I in trouble? People are saying we're going to get arrested. And he said, I'll look on the FBI list for you, but right now you're not on there. Don't worry. Because I thought if I'm on the list, I'm going to turn myself in. I ain't going to run for no police. You
Yeah.
don't do that. He said, no, you're fine. We know you. It'll be okay. Just get your on your plane tomorrow and come back home and we'll stay in contact. And then I passed out. I was so exhausted. Oh my God, by then I was.
Wow. I didn't realize there already was an FBI list of J6ers the night of January 6th. They already had names and
I don't know. I don't know, but that's what he said. I'll
yeah.
check if there's a wanted for you or something.
Hmm. And so you get back to Idaho, and how long until you realize that they are going to charge you?
That's a good question. I went to attorney with my videos because hadn't heard anything. I was on no list and I was scared and I wanted to prepare myself if I did something illegal or not. This is a story that's out of a fiction book. You're not going to believe the story. But anyway, he takes my videos. Of course, he doesn't touch them. And I come back the next day and I have to go get my videos. And the fire boxes behind glass
Yeah.
in another building. It was weird. So I get them. I come back and he says, Miss Hemphill, all I can tell you is for right now, I think you're fine. But if anything happens, do not call me, just text me. And when you text me, say there's somebody scratching at my door. I had to be careful what I would text him about as instructions.
Oh,
Then he tells me he just left the FBI. Oh, great, great. Then the prosecutor and my attorney want to talk to him just to verify my story. They can't find him at all. Then I'm in the market and there he is. And I ran him. I said, "Sir, they're trying to find you. They just want a statement from you." He says, "I'm sorry, I don't even know who you are."
really?
It was, yeah, I caught a little picture of him though in the grocery store. Come to find out, he had run for office, so in Idaho, I know, in Idaho, but it was Pendleton, the city of Pendleton, I think it is. And he was friends with Ammon Bundy. So I don't know. That was,
Oh,
but I tried to contact a lawyer, and I think it was maybe 3 months. I can't tell you to be exact.
yeah.
But when they came, I was relieved. I think it was a while because
Really?
you want to get it over.
Yeah.
There's
I
nothing
imagine the
left.
waiting and the not knowing is probably
I know
torturous.
it's horrible.
Yeah. And so they came and they said, "We are charging you. You pled
Yeah,
guilty."
they come 6 in the morning, and I'm telling you right now, the FBI were very professional. There was a story that uh, a grandmother had been dragged down the stairs. That's not true. No, I was not.
Who was saying that? Some right-wing media
I just,
outlet?
yeah, I heard it somewhere. I don't remember now. I just heard it way back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot
I'm
of spin
copying
out there.
things now, but I didn't copy it back then.
Yeah.
No, they were very professional. They treated me very well. The lady there was in the restroom with me to change clothes. She couldn't hug me. That's not professional. But I think she would have because I was crying. And she said, "It's going to be all right. You're going to be out by 1 o'clock." Because I had my last radiation at that time report. Yeah, in fact, I forgot about that. See, I think what happened, because I'm very well known, every officer in Boise knows me. They know me by name. I believe, this is just my belief, that they knew I was doing chemotherapy and waited. Because when they did come, they said, "We know you have an appointment at 1 for your last radiation. You will
Wow.
be out to make that appointment." So thank you, FBI. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
that sounds rather benevolent. That does sound nice. Or at least, yeah, very
Yeah.
humane of them to have taken that into consideration. So you pled guilty. So your trial kind of didn't happen. It was just you came in front of a judge and pled guilty, and that was it. And then there was a sentencing.
Yeah, that took a while. I had the due process, and there's a process.
Yeah,
And I don't know anything about the process, but
yeah,
I was constantly appearing for maybe a long time.
yeah.
Seemed like
And
8 years.
at this point, is it already getting into you a little bit that maybe you were duped by Trump, that maybe he did lose the election, that this story's not really adding up, or did that come later? Was that once you actually, after you were sentenced?
Um, for me right now, I don't know if it's chemo brain or trauma. So timelines are difficult to,
Yeah.
and I don't want to say something that's not factual, but one incident, there's two incidents that happened. I went to see my therapist because I needed somebody to talk about this and what was going on. And I still had a little victimhood going on because I kept saying, "Well, I wouldn't have went into the Capitol illegally. I wouldn't have pushed officers." I had this victim kind of still justifying. And my therapist says, "Miss Hemphill," and he knew me and I knew him very well, so I trusted him. "You were not a victim that day. You were a volunteer, black and white." And I got upset. I didn't tell him though. I left and I thought, I'm not going back to Dr. Rice. And I had been seeing him 10 years for my childhood trauma. And I got home that night and realized he was right. He was right. I had a choice many times to leave. I chose to stay.
Hmm.
I'm not a victim, no matter what my intentions were. And they were good, but it doesn't matter. You broke the law, Pam, and you better get honest with you and God and make amends.
That
And
is, wow, Pam. I mean, it's just, I actually know. somebody here in LA who stormed the Capitol as well, and he has not, to the best of my knowledge, and I've only spoken to him once since, but he has not had this moment of clarity yet. So to hear you say that, it is, it just it speaks volumes about your character. So you did get sentenced. What was your sentence? It was
Judge Lambert, they recommended 60 days. And this is on record. Judge Lambert had already sentenced a J6 female. And what she did was go out, I think he just gave her probation. She went out and told the public different story, right? She was so sorry in court, apologetic, crying, and he fell for it. And he said, because of that mistake, I'm sorry, but I cannot trust you. Not me.
right, the
He
mistake
just
he
said,
made by taking this other person's word for it that they were sorry.
he said, I believe your story. I really do. But I'm sorry. So that was out there in some Newsweek, his statement. So you can always find it, but because I'm not saying it exactly the way he said it, but
Yeah,
yeah, I thought, oh, okay, I get it. But I was totally honest with him.
yeah. And so where'd you do your time? It was
Oh,
in California, right?
yeah, Dublin Prison,
Yeah.
California, one of the second worst prisons in the United States.
Whoa.
It was being investigated by the Congress. And what had happened just prior to me going there, the warden was arrested for having affairs with the women inside and drugs.
Jeepers creepers.
But I got the story on those girls. They set these people up. They told me that's how they get out. And they
Uh,
get to have a lawsuit and they get to be released from prison. So,
oh, I
yeah,
mean, I guess I shouldn't say that so with so much alacrity, but it's just a light dawned. It was like, oh wow, that wouldn't even have occurred to me.
yeah, they're devious.
Interesting. So, do you mind? I know that this is traumatic, but what was your time in Dublin like? I mean,
Oh, well, I'll tell you, Biden has pardoned the lady that saved my life. You could look her up. It's under Free Michelle West, beautiful black Muslim lady. She said, Pam, I know what they're planning for you. Now, she had a life sentence, 50 years or more. She was innocent. She was innocent. There's very rare, not too many are, but she was falsely in prison. And she said, I know what she'd been there 28 years or something. I think she's been transferred there, I don't know, 28 years in Dublin, but in prison. And she said, I know what they're up to. I think she ran that place. And she's a very strong spiritual lady. She says, now I want you to focus on God and not these women. I'm going to take care of you. Because all I want you to do when you get out, don't be asking people to send me money. I'm okay that way. I want you to talk about me. And I promised her I would. And I have. I've been doing that for a long time. She said, because they're planning on putting drugs in your room. And if they find drugs in your room, there's two of us in a room. They don't know who put them in there. And even if you're innocent, you're both going to be charged. And you can get 4 more year sentence. Oh my God, I can barely, I'm claustrophobic.
oh
Two
my
months was
goodness.
like going to be 2 years for me. That was
Just for one
frightening.
clarifying, why did they want to do that? Were these fellow
Trump, there
Trumpers?
were
And
95% cartel women. 95% were all cartel women.
but the people that wanted to put the drugs in your room, why did they want to do that? Because they were pro-Trump and they wanted to punish you for your
Yeah,
uh so already at that point, because you pled guilty and all that stuff,
well,
they were already seeing you as having sort of turned on the movement.
wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, they're anti-Trump. They
Oh, they
don't,
were anti-Trump. Oh, I
yeah,
see.
they're cartel women.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah,
I see.
they
So
work for the cartel.
I see. So because you were a J6er, that's why they wanted to come after
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Interesting. And from what I read, though, this was a time of reflection for you. And really, more than any other time, was this where you kind of started to
No,
get the feeling? No?
I don't know how that's got out there. It needs to be corrected.
Okay.
When you're in prison, I've never been in jail in my life, right? Not even overnight. Well, maybe when I was drinking, but I wouldn't remember it because I'd be in blackouts.
Wow.
And back then, they just put you in jail like detox and don't even book you. But I'm just saying, I've never had a criminal background. So you're trying to survive. I just focused on the TV, and Michelle West would keep an eye on me, and that's all I did. And I read my Alcoholics Anonymous book, and that's it. I wouldn't go to my room because it's not safe to go to your room. There's no locks on the door. There's only one guard, two guards, 180 women. You can't go in your room and relax and read a book. You don't know who's going to come in. And the rules are that women are not allowed in each other's rooms, but they do it anyway. And you don't know who's going to come in and beat you up or rape you. So I stayed out in the community room
Uh-huh.
all the time. I didn't reflect on January, except I got calls from my family saying that Fox News had me all over the place. And oh my God, that was horrifying. I said, what? Yeah, and they're calling you Maga Granny. I said, oh my God, how can they do this? I'm not Maga Granny. They were using me to say the DOJ had been weaponized against me.
Right.
They had never talked to me. No, whatever. Still got a resentment against Fox News. Put me
A
out.
lot of us have a resentment against Fox News for their role in January 6th.
So that made it worse while I'm in prison. They're finding out more about me. I
Yeah. And Trump, in fact, referred to you more than once, if I'm not mistaken.
only know about once
Okay.
when they were comparing me with Hunter Biden. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what started it. That's what
Right.
started it. Because I'm new on Twitter. I don't know who's watching me. I'm not paying attention. I don't think they are anyway. So I said, Trump, don't be using me for anything. I pleaded guilty because I was guilty, and that's when it became viral. CNN got a hold of me, and I said, look at CNN. I can't go that large. Oh no, no, no. I'm not you could see I'm not somebody to do a podcast or talk in public.
Yeah, but sometimes, just life has different plans for somebody, and somebody like yourself, Pam, is put in a position where, like I said, your true character shines through, and I'm sure you wouldn't have chosen that spotlight, but of all
Mm,
the J6ers, you're the one who did the right thing with the spotlight, and we admire you for it.
thank you. Yeah, I had to make a decision. I thought of another Pam that might be out there that got caught up in this crap, this cult. Maybe she could listen to me. You never know. Because I think I would have if I'd heard me talking.
Yeah,
You just don't know who you're going to help. So I had to get my fear out of the way and put it in the closet. If they smear me, say, come after me, don't I every day I told myself, don't you turn your will and your life over to care of God every day? So aren't you going to just trust Him and just do the right thing? If you're doing the right thing, it's always going to be all right.
I like that. So I'm a little bit curious as to, was there a moment when you started to see it as a cult? When was it, after prison, or was it all through this process that there was a slow changing of your opinion?
Okay, within the same period, seeing my therapist tell me I'm not a victim. I started at first J6. I don't know what I called it, but it was for the defendants to come in and their families. So they all did, all the megas. They came in. And right away, see, I'm thinking they're standing up against the government overreach, that something was wrong that day. And they were accusing us of things that we weren't, that were legal for us to do, but lying about it. So anyway, I was still so naive. They came in and they're standing up for J6ers that had hit officers, and I wasn't okay with that. It's like, and I would say something, and they go, "Oh my God!" They jumped on me really crazy. But then um, Ryan Samsel, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's the one that Epps whispered in his ear, where to
Oh,
make. He turns his cap around. He goes. He's the first that breached the Capitol.
right,
Pushed the barriers and knocked down a female officer, and she got a head concussion.
right.
Well,
Ray Epps being the man that conspiracy theorists believe was an FBI plant, despite the fact there's no evidence. He was just like you, a Trump supporter who bought into the hype and went to the Capitol. But Tucker Carlson and others created a narrative that because he said, like, we're going to go into the Capitol, that he was clearly an FBI plant or something.
I know they had to have somebody that was making me do everything, right? Make us
Yeah,
all do. Yeah, give me a
yeah,
break.
I know.
So Ryan Samsels has an article out by Gateway Pundit. Are you familiar with them?
Yep.
Okay, the article was that while he's in jail in D.C., that the guards had beat him up and he had lost his whole eye. The whole eye was gone, right? That upset me because nobody should be abused that bad. I don't care who they are when
Of
you're
course.
in.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, so because everybody had called me, you name it, Laura Loomer, all these people had been calling me, all the top J6ers you hear about today. Do not plead guilty, no matter what. I had numbers, and I had Ryan Semsel's girlfriend's number. She had called me because she was suicidal. People were wanting me to help people. I got the suicide hotline started for the J6ers. So people were calling me. So I called Ryan Samsel's girlfriend. She said, Pam, he didn't lose his soul. Oh, I was so upset. And then I looked and his gifts and go went over $40,000 that day. And I said, oh my God, they're lying for money. This is a lie. I felt like an idiot trying to help him. And so I went back to my space and told them, and they jumped on me big time. You know, that's what Mega does.
Yeah.
When you bring facts and reliable sources that I'm not making this up, I've got the right people you can check. Well, that started it. So they smeared me, kicked me out, wouldn't let me come back in my own space because I was co-host at the time. Uh, I started the J6 gaslighting space. And that's when the sedition hunters, the Democrats, and real researchers came in and helped me bring in receipts of what really happened on January 6th. Because, see, both spaces, both people, Republicans and the MAGA and Democrats sounded alike. They did. I told them, you both sound the same. But the difference was the Democrats brought receipts, where
Yep.
MAGA just throws out lies with no evidence. And you ask, and then when you question them, they don't give you anything. Or they just say, oh, be quiet. Just, we know what we're talking about, you know. So I loved it when I started running, all these Democrats coming in. It was just such a relief. Yeah.
Yeah. And to this day, though, I mean, when you refused the pardon from Trump, I imagine that brought the focus back on you again after probably. I imagine it died down a little bit over the
No.
course of the 4 years. No, just it's been a nonstop onslaught, huh?
Well, it started, maybe Michael can help me. I think I started in April of 1923. Yeah. I've been interviewed, and a lot of people don't know this. I've been interviewed more in other countries than I have here. Japan came out when I was holding the side for Harris from Japan. I've had
Wow.
France. I've had France. I see next week I'll be interviewing with Sweden. I've had Norway here in my home. Um, I'm trying to think, Germany. I just got off the phone the other day with the UK. So all the countries, even the Middle East, have been interviewing me. I've been busy. I've had a lot of interviews. It's not the right ones though that really can help me get my message out there per se. I mean, I've been on Minus Touch has been really good to me. They brought me on several times. Michael Colin,
Yeah.
they've helped get my message out there. And
They've got helped get your message out to like-minded people of the left. How it's crossing that bridge and getting your message out to the people on the right that I imagine is still a challenge.
well, there's a small percentage though of the left that will do not want to accept me right now. I was invited to be a speaker for tomorrow in one of the cities here in Idaho, and they invited me, and then they sent me another text telling me that they can't have me on. Some people will never forgive me, so we're working
Whoa.
we're working through that with somebody right now.
Oh
But
man.
So
that's not my my tribe on the left.
yeah, it's a small percentage, but I've had to deal with pushback and smear campaigns on both sides. But I
Yeah.
keep telling myself it's a small percentage, And whenever I look at all the comments after a podcast, Luke Beasley, millions of views, um, they're very kind to me. They're very thankful. And that kept me going because there were so many times with all the smearing and the threats. And I just want to quit. What am I doing this for? It's because I got to relive. It's like being in Vietnam and you're just staying there and you can't get out. With
Yeah.
January 6th, when you keep speaking about it, talking about it, I'm reliving the trauma all the time. So I'm doing a lot of self care though. I still see a therapist every week
Yeah.
just to deal with the PTSD of January 6th. It
I
stays
bet
with you.
you're doing a lot of good in the world, though, with your message, Pam. What how do you see the the MAGA movement now? It seems like it's even more ferocious, more cultist, more brainwashed to me than it was even in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish my eyes were open back then.
Yeah.
It's so scary. It's so frightening. They are so angry. I think they always have been. Just discussing this with my therapist last week, we both agreed the same thing. What we are seeing is unresolved childhood issues. They must have been raised with a narcissist because Trump's a narcissist, and they're in a narcissistic abusive relationship with Trump.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and that had not occurred to me, Pam. That is really enlightening that you would say that.
yeah. Because well, I'm not a psychologist, but
Yeah.
it makes sense because they're acting out their own childhood unresolved issues. And my therapist agreed with me. She said, "Yeah, that's exactly what's happening." She's PhD. She's doctor. I have a doctor psychologist. Um, yeah, but they don't see it, and I don't know where I was going with this. What I was going to share. I got a blank spot for a second.
Yeah. Um, just out of curiosity, do you hold on to hope that we can come through this moment as a country, or do you see us as hopelessly divided at this point? I mean, you're in Boise, Idaho. You would know better than anybody. Anybody seeing the light? Anybody softening their hard stance and their love for Trump? Anybody coming around, or do you think that they're actually just hardening, becoming more dogmatic?
He opened the door for their own beliefs and their own prejudice. That's all he's done. He's given them permission to be racist. It's okay now, you know. But no, I kind of use this example to explain to people about MAGA. This is my own personal opinion. When I worked with alcoholics and addicts, I had to keep putting facts in front of them about their illness, right? And they would hate me. In fact, they'd say, I want to change counselors. I said, go ahead, good. Uh, and people would call me family and say, I'm getting them out of that hospital. That's the worst place they could be in. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a referral for a hospital. And guess who's working there? Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, and Jesus. I don't care what you do with these alcoholics and addicts. You got to stay focused and honest with facts with them. And they would fight you. It's the same with MAGA. Not putting down alcoholics and addicts. I'm just talking about the denial is so deep. Don't even know I'm lying to myself. They're lying to themselves. They have to, just like Trump. They don't want to face their own responsibility for their own actions. We can just continue, and I love that excuse to blame somebody else. I don't have to look at Pam. I'll just blame this podcaster up here.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
sure.
I'll blame the FBI that were there that day. I'll blame Nancy Pelosi. It's everybody else but me. And
Right.
there, and to get to that place, it's a personal experience, a personal journey. And the only way we can be very useful and helpful is to continue to put the facts out there. The books you read, and they can hate you all they want. Later, they'll thank you because I had so many come back to me and say, Pam, I'm glad. It's an ugly word today, but it's called tough love. They don't like that word. But it's love. It's tough love, though. It's like, you need to hear this about Trump. You need to start getting your critical thinking back and do your own research. Oh, Pam, no, man, nothing's out there is true anymore. Oh, gosh. It's hard to talk to them. But,
Yeah.
I'm kind of used to it when I'm talking to an alcoholic in denial. It's my wife. If she would just straighten up, I wouldn't have to hit her. I mean,
Oh man.
the criminal mind, Salmon Samson says this. He says, the criminal mind, and they have the criminal mind thinking errors, is the same thing. I wouldn't have stole that car if they hadn't left the keys inside. The thinking
Yeah.
is delusional and criminal. Evil is another word.
Well, as a final hypothetical, I'm just curious what your take on it is, and I think you're in a good position to answer this. Let's say that somehow we do continue to have fair and honest elections, and Donald Trump and MAGA lose. What do you think? How do you think the reaction is going to be at this point? It feels like he's ramped them up to the point where they'll never accept another election that they lose. And we've already seen that he refused to go last time. And we've already seen that people got violent last time. You were there, you were in the mix. Do you have fear that even if Donald Trump were to lose an election and the senators who support him were to lose an election, that would fix the problem? Or do you think that that would just exacerbate the problem, that we would then have really angry people willing to act out again?
We would have very angry people willing to, unless we could put, it's like a fire in the kitchen if you don't put it out now. And this is the problem. We didn't put it out. It's
Yeah.
it's gone too far. Starting by tomorrow. I'm worried about tomorrow, but will we get to election? That's what I'm worried about. Will we get that far? I mean, today when I was listening to Trump's speech yesterday, oh, I thought I was listening to Hitler. It scared me.
Yeah.
Talking about getting rid of these judges. We need to stand up like we never stood up before, peacefully. And history has shown peaceful protests work.
Yep.
We know that. We know that they're bringing in those agitators. Democrats are peaceful. They don't burn buildings. They've done that though, in all these protests, make us look like we're the evil ones bringing all the violence. It's not true. But people, disinformation. I mean, they're putting out videos of Mega coming there, and those are old videos from 2 years ago. Do you know what I mean? They're not
Yeah.
coming.
Absolutely.
So right now, I don't really have an answer for you, but knowing Trump, knowing the narcissist and the mega, it's a cult. If we don't help that base and get it less, yeah, it's going to be worse than it was on January 6th.
I think so too. And when you say tomorrow, you're referring to the, they call it the military parade, but it's also Trump's birthday, which is straight out of the dictator handbook, the dear leader's birthday. And traditionally speaking, the totalitarian governments, the kind of places that have military parades, those are more a threat to the people than to other countries. And we're not showing off our weaponry to other countries. Every other country knows America has a powerful military.
Yeah.
Rolling the tanks down the streets of American cities is meant to, in my opinion, the message is, remember who's in charge.
His ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because what is the history that we've had parades after war or something? I don't
I mean, I actually don't know. I've never seen
know.
any footage
They
of an
come back,
American military parade, not like this.
not like a military parade, but they come back,
Oh,
and
sure, with the soldiers, but
World War
there's
II.
ticker tape
Yeah,
and celebrating and things like that, but it's not
yeah.
tanks and guns
Not a
and
parade for a president, no.
yeah,
Oh my, yeah. He says, I don't know anything about, I'm not a king. I can hardly get any, oh God. He's just playing his role. Because as soon as he gets off of media, he's in the back room saying, you better do something about those no king protests. He's, he's an actor and he's good at it.
yeah, yeah.
Don't be
Well,
fooled by Trump.
he is good at it. I'll give you that. He plays that role and he
Yeah, but he
plays it
ain't
very
fooling
well.
us. He ain't fooling me. You can't con a con. I see right through it. He lies
What-
about every single thing. I don't know about the no kings protest. Oh my God. Yeah,
They're going to be everywhere. I'm in Los Angeles, which is supposedly under siege. Talk about a lie. It's a beautiful day. The neighbor's mowing his lawn. A little girl just went by the apartment on her scooter. It's normal out there, but if you watch Fox News, we're under siege. It's an alien invasion or whatever it is that they're saying. They're creating a narrative by which they can take their, in my opinion, fascistic takeover to the next level. I mean,
Exactly. And remember with the Elon and the car dealerships, we're
oh,
going
sure.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that in Idaho. They put out the narrative that we're dangerous. So here comes the Idaho Liberty Dogs with their ARs and carrying, with their flags and everything. And I thought, I'm not going to go to support Tulsa protest. If there's any violence, I'm going to be a part of it. We are the ones, if somebody was burning up a car, we're going to take your picture. We're going to call the police. We ain't not going to let that happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the Democrats. But they put that narrative out and scares everybody. And they're doing the same thing here in Idaho and everywhere in the nation to get everybody prepared because it's going to be an uprising and we're going to burn buildings. And oh my God, it's insane. It's scary. But they're the ones that's going to come and do that.
Yeah,
Start the
absolutely.
problem.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what Hitler did. The Reichstag building. I mean, you create a national emergency and you use that emergency to seize more power, and then you never let go of the power. And I'm afraid of that.
And then Trump can do the Insurrection Act.
Yep.
Because there's been an uprising throughout the whole United States, and look at all the violence that was going on.
Yeah. Some
It's a
sneaker
setup.
store in Los Angeles lost some of their inventory and a window got smashed. Time to call in the Marines against the citizens of the United States of America. It's
Yeah.
a crazy narrative.
What about the Umbrella Man with the BLM? BLM,
Yeah.
he was smashing windows. It was a setup.
Well, Pam, this is why I fight, and I'll be honest with you, I am 1 millionth as effective as you because you were there on J6 and you are speaking from a place that not many people have the perspective you have. And if anyone is going to put out that fire in the kitchen, it's you before it's me. And so we thank you. You are, in my opinion, an American hero and a real patriot. They all call themselves patriots. Pam Hemphill, you are a patriot.
Well, it's hard to accept, but thank you. This is just part of my amends. And amends means to make it right. I'll never make it right that I was there on January 6th. Never. However, if you owe somebody $20 and you're going to make amends, you just don't say you're sorry. You give them the $20, right? So I
That's right.
realized if I'm really going to make an amends, I got to speak out, be available. And of course, just know that, when you are speaking out, everything's going to be okay as long as we're honest.
Yeah. And your
It's
amends is,
scary. It's scary.
I know it is, but I honestly feel like what you're doing is helping to stop the next January 6th. And that is, in my opinion, that is amends. So I
Oh,
thank you for it.
that would be great.
Thanks for coming on the show, Pam. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll stay in contact.
Yes,
I'll let you know
absolutely.
what goes on next week.
Yeah, we'll talk. We got plenty to talk about. Thanks again, Pam.
Okay, thank you.